What does it look like for a story to be stripped right back? What if there are no sprawling landscapes, no long adventures, no big set pieces or huge battles? Well, that's what we call a contained story. A contained story is essentially any narrative told within tight narrative constraints. Most commonly, this involves the story taking place in one primary location, over a short span of time, and with a limited cast of characters. The dramatic engine of a contained story doesn't come from spectacle or scale, but from intensified conflict that brews inside a closed environment. By limiting space and movement, the story forces the audience into a sort of narrative claustrophobia. But what is it that makes a contained story work? Let's have a look. By the way, we'll be spoiling the following movies. Firstly, contained stories often involve what's called a narrative cage. There are a set of circumstances that trap the characters inside a limited environment, and these constraints justify why the characters cannot simply walk away. A narrative cage is often physical, which means the character finds themselves trapped by certain restraints around them, literally as if they were stuck in a cage or a cell. Otherwise, characters are held captive by external threats, which prevent them from leaving safely. Beyond physical restraints, though, characters can also find themselves in a situational narrative cage. This means that they could technically leave, but less tangible circumstances prevent them from doing so. This is often down to social pressures, social hierarchy, or simply because of a task that needs fulfilling.
There are still 11 of us here who think he's guilty.
Right. What do you think you're going to accomplish? You're not going to change anybody's mind. So if you want to be stubborn and hang this jury, go ahead.
A huge deciding factor when constructing the narrative cage is where it takes place. The story's location is arguably the most important part of a contained story. And to keep this kind of narrative interesting, the story's location often evolves as the film progresses. To achieve this, writers often introduce and reveal new spaces within the single location. The film Cube is literally based on this premise, as the characters navigate their way through a labyrinth of deadly traps.
You can't see the big picture from in here, so don't try. Keep your head down. Keep it simple. Just look at what's in front of you.
That's what he said.
Similarly, writers can create revelations with certain objects and props in the story. Items that may initially seem inconsequential to the central story can suddenly be charged with fresh significance.
Now, I ain't had many stew in 6 months, so I ain't no expert. But that damn sure is Minnie's stew. So if Minnie is on the north side visiting her mama for a week, how she make the stew this morning?
This is all about creating something unexpected through charging banal objects with meaning.
You've been out of your room.
No, I haven't.
Paul, my little ceramic penguin in the study always faces due south.
This can also help to inform a story's climax or a major twist. Along with location, we need to talk about the people involved. What role do the characters play in a contained story? In the most basic instance, a character could simply be trying to escape or survive the situation they're in. And this fight for survival can be intensified if they're trying to protect another character. In this type of contained stories, the stakes will be much higher if the relationship is personal. Very often in these kind of narratives, plot escalation comes from the relationships between characters rather than the action itself.
What? That's what I mean!
How do writers achieve this? Firstly, this can come from creating conflicting goals between the characters.
Just stay a little while longer.
No more time. Goodbye.
Or through a clash of beliefs and values, which are relevant to the central concept.
But Greta, we are not animals.
We have been preyed upon like animals. Maybe we should respond like animals.
In my lifetime, I have seen horses confront angry dogs and try to stomp them to death. Animals don't always flee.
Is this how we want to teach our daughters to defend themselves?
Alternatively, the characters could be directly pitted against each other.
そこで今日は皆さんにちょっと殺し合いをしてもらいます。最後の一人になるまでです。反則はありません。何がおかしい?
Another technique writers often use is to give their characters secrets. This is important as it creates the opportunity for revelations of truth.
Listen to me more than Nash. I'm a cop.
These revelations of truth change the audience's perspective on the story and create turning points to shape the story's structure. These turning points can also be achieved through power shifts between the characters, as the tables turn on who holds the power or who becomes a greater threat.
Go back to your room.
If I do, are you ever gonna let me out?
Fresh turns in the narrative can also come about through the introduction of new characters. In The Hateful Eight, the narrative is kept fresh by new characters entering Minnie's haberdashery.
Come on in, everybody. Don't be shy. Hi! Everybody, this is Minnie, and this is her place. Behind me, plucking that chicken, is Gemma.
In Phone Booth, chaotic interactions with passers-by create chaos. And eventually, the arrival of the police and the media raises the stakes and increases the sense of scale in the story.
Sir! I'm ordering you to fully comply.
Look, I'm busy. All right, come back later.
Very good, Stu.
Another way writers force drama into a contained story is with the use of an old storytelling favorite.
Begin.
The ticking clock. With a ticking clock, the audience understands that something irreversible will happen unless the characters act soon enough. This can be in the form of a specific time pressure, or the ticking clock could be due to dwindling resources.
You need to preserve your oxygen level any way you can.
There are other variations of the ticking clock as well.
There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do?
So, that's the main elements involved in the script for a contained story. But what tools do the directors use to make these stories come alive? The narrative limitations of a contained story pose a challenge to the director, as they too are limited by what they can do. In contained stories, directors may opt for 360-degree shooting. This is an approach where a scene is lit and designed so the camera can point in any direction, without revealing equipment, crew, or unfinished parts of the set. This allows total freedom to make the most of a single location. Rob Hardy, the DP on Ex Machina, favors this approach. I'm always an advocate of shooting in a 360-degree environment, and building lights into the set often allowed me to do that. It helps not only with the way you shoot, but also in the way in which the actors can perform. This technique was also used in Hitchcock's 1948 film, Rope.
He's got it. He's got it. He knows. He knows. He knows.
All right.
He knows.
Easy. I'll take care of it.
No, you won't.
360-degree shooting has become a popular method in modern TV series.
I think it makes it funnier because it adds to the overall tone of the show. These people are under like crushing stress, running around like chickens with their head cut off. I think we were able to infuse it with this style, and it's as funny as anything that we've done.
360-degree shooting often goes hand in hand with long takes. But the edit is an equally important tool for a director when shooting a contained story. Reframing through cuts and a variety of angles helps to portray the limited location in different ways. This keeps the film visually interesting, but also reflects the story's pacing. For example, crash zooms, frantic cuts from different angles, and the use of long lenses and phone booth cement the feeling of being watched by an unknown person. In Rear Window, the shift between internal and external shots brings variety to the film, with both the setting and the changes in lighting between inside and outside. Another tool the director has on hand is the blocking. It's essential that the characters move about the space they're in. Movement is one of the few vehicles of change within the contained story. Because of this, the use of furniture is very important. Characters regularly stand up and sit down, moving around the room to match the energy of the sequence.
I forgot your hot chocolate. No, it's fine. I'll get it. No, just sit down, please.
Now, let's have a look at a couple of low-budget contained stories and examine how the filmmakers pulled off these projects. Firstly, Emma Seligman's debut feature Shiva Baby was made on a meager budget of just $200,000. So much of making the production a success came down to its preparation.
Thankfully, we had a lot of time in the house beforehand for me and my cinematographer and our assistant director creating the schedule and our producers to list every shot and fully all together be on the same page about what we needed from each scene.
Quite often with contained stories on a micro budget, the location itself becomes the unit base.
Our hair and makeup room was also our production office. It was also our costumes room, and everyone even upstairs, it was bumped up against each other, moving around.
And the limited budget meant that the team had to be super creative with their shooting.
We couldn't afford extras, so there was a lot of faking extras with like a shoulder sort of coming into frame and things like that, making it look busy. Was begging a lot of friends to just be in the movie, for free.
Stephen Knight's film Locke is shot almost entirely within a car, and this feeling of traveling alone was inherent to the choice to have Locke shot the way it was.
It's the isolation, and what we wanted it to be was like, it's a ship in a storm. It's on a journey because it is an emotional storm that he's going through, and it needs to feel like that.
Another interesting take was that Stephen Knight always saw making Locke as if he was shooting a piece of theater.
I'd seen a lot of footage, test footage of shot from moving vehicles on motorways and in cities, and I thought it was quite hypnotic and beautiful. So I thought, could that be the theatre, that moving image, and then put an actor in there and shoot a play effectively?
But above all, his main focus was of the emotional story that underpins the whole film.
The response when the lights go up at the end of the screen is very emotional. A lot of people are very moved by it, and they engage with the story and the character, and they sort of forget that that this is a different way of making a film.
While there is such a thing as high-budget contained stories, it should be clear that this subgenre is also very doable without a lot of money.
$65? That's cheap.
Either way, preparation is key. Studio Binder can help with everything from script writing to scheduling, shot listing, and more. Until next time, remember that limitations are fuel for creativity.